Hello, everybody. It's the Alco Diesel guy with thankfully much more of my voice back. Decided it was finally time I start shooting some video as I couldn't take it anymore. Anywho, on the workbench today we have one of my roundhouse rats, as I have affectionately / disaffectionately nicknamed it. This is number 4013, a D&H RS2 from Kato. These are very reliable locomotives, but this one constantly has problems. Again, I got this thing used, it's been abused, it's been run very hard, and this particular unit constantly is very needy. If you watch actually my video, and I'm sorry I didn't do any narration, but my voice was so shocked when I entered it into SMT's Christmas display competition, you'll note that this particular locomotive was, in fact, on that tight, twisty interurban track. I'm going to do a more overview on that layout. I'm not done with that yet because I'm so far behind because of how bad my voice has been lately, and hopefully it'll hold out for this whole video. As in the past, I've only been able to do a few clips here and there and having to sort of get things done really slowly. As you saw in that video, when it ran on that interurban track, the unit kept stalling out. I had to constantly give it a bit of a push. I edited actually most of that out, but you'll note it wasn't running initially, and I had to sort of come back on there and give it a shove and do a few edits to get this thing to work because it constantly kept cutting out. And I thought it was my track, but it turns out it's this locomotive. Let me show you exactly what it's doing. As you see, I have my test track out on the bench. Let me go and fire up my workbench's DCC system. Okay, I've got us all hooked up. I've got us all dialed in here. Well, I thought I did. Apparently, this thing didn't hold the address. You can tell what kind of night I've had so far. 113, 4013. I think I have control of it now. I'll show you what it's been doing. As you see, I've already moved the top because this thing has some serious issues to work with. So I'm going to get this out of the way, as I find experience has shown that it's best to keep that off when you work on a locomotive until you're sure it's working. Let me just see if the headlight is responding and stuff. So I have the wrong number in there. 4013, yeah, that's correct. Oh, there it goes. Now it's working. And you'll see what I mean by intermittent operations. You see right now we're in reverse. It does move, but you'll note it's kind of hesitating and cutting out everywhere it gets, chance it gets. And if I go the other way, it stops altogether. And again, no power at all until it gets straight. In fact, nothing at all right now. It's been very inconsistent. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here exactly. Very clearly there's a contact problem because it wouldn't be hesitating this much if it wasn't. As you can see, it's not responding very well to commands. I almost think the decoder might be shot on this, but I think I have another idea of what might be wrong with it. Now it's running a little bit better. Oh, there, it stalled again. Another thing I noticed with this, in addition to the really bad contact in general, is... well, that one's fine, but this... yeah, here we go. This truck itself is not giving it any power. The front truck, I believe this is, and these were done backwards. Kato... I rather had them set up backwards so that the short hood was the long hood, but it's not correct. It's not a big deal. You just run them backwards. It's not a big deal. But, yeah, as you can see, there's no power coming through this front truck at all. In fact, this rear truck is intermittent as well. So I'm thinking I know what has happened here. So to start with, I'm going to unplug my DCC system, and I'm going to go ahead and actually move the track out of the way. A lot of you might wonder why I don't just keep this consistent, and that the reason being is I don't have enough room that was to keep this mounted permanently to my workbench, and the reason is I don't have enough room for it. It also gives me the ability to just move it aside when I don't need it. Well, I digress again. Anyway, what I think I'm going to do now is pop these trucks off and try maybe installing 2 different trucks if I can find parts, or maybe just clean these out, because I think I know, because I'm thinking that's what's causing the issues. So let's zoom in a little bit here. Get you out of fisheye mode and go into close up. There we go. So I just need a small Phillips screwdriver. This is off Walmart, literally. I have a whole bunch of these. These were model railroading. This is a very handy little screwdriver kit, especially for end scale. Comes with 2 pieces. One is a flathead, one is a Phillips, like this one is. Okay, the 2 washers came out. I'm going to put them in my little parts bin over here on the side. Don't want to lose any parts. Let me get my... I take the tank off to split the frame. Oh, wait a minute, actually they dropped off. Good, they finally did come off. Alrighty. It's one off, that's the other 2. I'm pretty sure these trucks are going to be all caked up. Now, in this case, I do actually have another set of trucks. If I remember correctly, for another project I was going to do. But I also have a locomotive I can take the trucks off of. So let me go, that I know works well. So let me go grab that one and go ahead and do that. Now this is yet another D&H, pardon the filthy top on it, RS2. Not sure if it's the exact same number. In fact, I'll zoom you out. I don't know why this is doing this to me again. There we go. Let's go to ×3. There we go. This particular unit, though, is in much better shape. As we know, it's unlike the railings on this particular model that I'm fixing right now. The railings go all the way to the cab. Although this one's a little bit bent. And it's got all of its detail parts, etc. It also has its original knuckles. I'm going to be changing the couplers on these, as I've found a way of changing them very easily. This one right now has its original couplers, but the springs have been cut off. That's a technique I use to get these to handle turns. This is, in fact, also number 4013. It has the exact same trucks on it, more importantly. So what I'm going to do now is take the shell off this one carefully. And I'm going to no, I'm not going to swap the shell with the other one. I'm going to take the trucks off this one and swap them with these two and see if that improves its performance. So I'm going to put these in my parts bin so I don't confuse them. And if this works the way I think it will, that will cause this engine to run really well, and I can then focus on fixing those trucks. So let's go and get this thing off if I can just carefully wrestle it out. I'm going to have to do more work on this engine anyways. I'm going to clearly have to upgrade its couplers, as these are still the old ones. I learned how to actually put Microtrains couplers on these, and I've bought a set, so I'm going to probably do that eventually here as well. So this will probably become a long-term project itself. Let's go now and pop off the trucks. Again, I know this one is a good runner. So I'm just going to loosen these just enough to get these trucks off. And there we go. I lost one screw again, as is typical with that. The washer, actually. Ooh, this thing's good and stuck in there, isn't it? There it is. Got it. Okay. Alrighty then. So I got the trucks off this one. I don't want to lose the parts on it. The thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the parts in the same bin, because literally these are interchangeable. They are the same. It's the exact same locomotive models. This is one case where I don't think it's going to matter too much. Push this to the side. Going to grab this one now and put these trucks underneath it. I can get away with having to put the screws back in, the washers back in, but I think I should. I need to get the other washer here. Please don't fall out. The other washer was in place. That's why it didn't fall out. Okay. So I'll grab one from the other thing and put it back in there. Oh, and that other thing went flying. I'm going to have to work on this one clearly much more later on. Let's get this thing out of here. Snack that up there. Let's not hold you guys up anymore in this video. Threw these two guys in here, I hope. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Grab the other washer thing and just drop it right in there. And take my Phillips head and just tighten her back up again. There we go. So now with the sort of new to this locomotive's trucks on it, we'll see if this thing works. If it does, then I know what the problem is, and I'm going to service those trucks. If not, back to the drawing board. So let me go grab my test track and zoom you guys back out so we can see what's going on here. Still haven't quite shaken this cold yet, but I am doing better. Yes, I am. Let's put her in there. Should have the same address. That's the advantage of working with the engine that has the same number on it. Place this on the track, and immediately there's a difference. So you can see I've got power on that truck. I've got power on... Oop. These aren't staying in place. Let me put one of the fuel tanks back on this. The fuel tank does serve a purpose here. It actually holds these contact lines in place. If they are not perfectly in place, they won't pick up power. So let me make sure that is the issue and not just the contact line being bad, which is the other thing I was thinking it could be. Let's go and give this a shot again. Oh, yep, that worked. That was the problem. Contact lines were not insecure, so let's give this thing a try. I have a feeling this will fix this and make it work perfectly, or close to perfect at least. Let's get you a little bit further into range here without knocking my stuff off my workbench. Now, it forgot which locomotive it's supposed to have, so this thing's doing its antics where it resets itself completely. There we go, reverse. Forward, full. Well, not full, but you get the idea. Okay, that works. And a lot better. It's a little hesitant here and there. The track is not perfect on this, test track, but it's definitely a lot better. So I found my problem. It appears those trucks are caked up. Again, I don't know the history of the other engine. This was pretty much brand new when I got it. It was just old stock sitting in these trucks, I should say, from the engine they came from, were pretty much from a brand new locomotive that was new old stock. So I found what my problem is. This engine's good to go. I'm not going to obviously take this apart now since it's working. Rule number one, never take something apart that does work. I'm just going to keep these trucks on it because they're the same. I'm going to put this back on my layout. It comes convenient when your Christmas layout is literally a few feet away from your workbench. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on getting the trucks ready on this one to function correctly. Here they are. So very clearly these trucks are going to have to get taken apart and cleaned. They do have a lot of wear and tear on them. You can see on the bottom here. The good news is while I can't get the gray covers, which are actually not properly painted, I should mention. In fact, even if you look at the paint on this is not correct for Delaware and Hudson. The shade of blue and gray are all wrong on this. And the gold is kind of is not bright enough. All that said, you can, in fact, buy all the parts to build these trucks brand new or to get a whole new set of trucks from Kato in general. But first, I'm going to try to clean these. So let me go and get a vat of rubbing alcohol together, and we'll go and see if we can do a number on these and get them working again. Alrighty. Got the appropriate supplies, including this empty soup dish thing from a takeout restaurant. I should say pop open these trucks, pardon me. Alrighty, I'm now armed with my empty and nicely clean soup dish. And of course, my usual plastic sponger. I'm now going to pop this truck open and take all the said components and actually put them in here. In fact, let me actually pop this open right over it. That'll work out much better. Going to just gently press in on these tabs if I can remember which way they go. Oh, this is off. Okay. Assuming that arrow going that way means that you push them that way to get them out. These do look familiar. Yes, they are essentially derived. The Atlas trucks, in fact, I should say, are derived from these. Oh, for goodness sakes. Right back together again. Okay, finally, after much struggling, I finally got this loose and out. There we go. Let's drop these parts in there. This guy here I'm going to keep to the side. So I'm not going to wash that because the alcohol will destroy it. And if we look here, here's our problem. These two areas right here are loaded with carbon. This is the area in which the point of the axle makes contact. And as you can see, they are full of dirt. Focus, focus. So that's our problem right here. So these need to be cleaned. So that's what's going on. The other truck is probably in the same, if not worse shape. I'm going to basically put them in the alcohol and let them soften that up because there's so much in the way of carbon deposits. The wheels, on the other hand, look like they're in pretty good shape. It doesn't look like this really needs any help. I don't want to take things apart unless absolutely necessary. There's a little dirt here. Not too much. So I think I'll keep this part together. I'll just put this side in here. Let me try to get the other one open. Oh, good lord. Hopefully I can get this to work better. You have to really be aggressive, I find, with these. You really have to shove this out hard. I guess in for a penny, in for a pound. Here I go. I'm afraid I'm going to break something. That's why I'm always so careful with how much force. But you need if it needs force, that's what it's going to get. There we go. This needs a little bit of oomph to get out. You have to really shove these things out hard. I don't like doing that. So I'm afraid I'm going to break something, because usually that kind of force with plastic usually means breaking something. I don't want to do it, but I didn't want to do it, but it looks like it worked. There they are. That's out. Okay. And this one, yeah, pretty badly caked up too, so it's not going to be picking up power with that. Same story with the other side. They're both caked up. They should be the same color of brass as everything else is here. As you can see, instead, they're just covered with dirt. They need cleaning desperately. Oh, and this one even has some carpet lint on one of the axles. Ooh, that's nice. It just came off in my fingers. Let's get rid of that right away here. I don't know where that came from. I guess I always ran my end scale on. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. One of the earlier layouts I had were run on the carpet. in 2012. So this could be from that era, but I don't think so. This one has the broken thing, so this is the other one. I'm thinking this is from the previous owner. Okay, I'm going to call that good and just put it back in my parts bin. Let's make these two. Oh, wait a minute. This one also has a little bit of that stuff in there. Ooh, let me go get my tweezers here and clean out a little of this hair while I'm in here. I didn't see that before. There we go. That stuff is gone. That's the other stuff gone. Carpet lance. Carpet lance. Never a good idea to have this stuff in there because it'll make it harder for the motor to turn your gears. And ooh, and if you're not careful, the wheels will go flying like that one just did. Oh, there it is. I found it. Yep. Yeah, I was testing it, folks. Never do that because it's not fun to try to find your wheels. Although really the wheels aren't the hardest thing to find because these will stick out like a sore thumb on a carpet or anything else. But oh my God, look at how this is messed up here. Good Lord. Okay. That's going to do it for these. I'm just going to put the wheels back in. Quickly here, if I can find that one. There it is. I'm not going to bother lubricating these, I don't think, until I'm ready to put them back in if I do. I mean, there's still a little bit there. This is very tedious, I know, and I probably, most of this might get edited out. You might not even be seeing what I'm doing right now. And they snap right securely into place, these things. Very nice by Kato again. And it goes. Okay, everybody. Alrighty. So I've got all 4 of these little guys in here. I'm just going to fill up enough alcohol to cover them. And I'm going to let this soak here, and I will get back to this project and say, ooh, I don't know, about 24, 48 hours, and let those things soak up and let the alcohol do its thing. Okay, time to get back on the Kato Alco RS2 and D&H paint that had the pickup problems. Again, I dumped the pickup shoes, which were not allowing pretty much any power through, about a week ago, a little bit over a week ago, in fact, into this vat with rubbing alcohol, and I've let them sit. I've been shaking them around a bit to get rid of as much of the carbon deposits on them as possible. Now I'm going to go in there and just dig it all out and get it ready to actually work. I think this is actually electrolysis, they call that thing. Anywho, what I'm going to do now is pull these out, and let them dry. I've got a paper towel on my desk. And those of you who watched the first part might notice the lighting is better. I'm hoping you do. Oh, look at that. I managed to dump this stuff out by mistake. But this will dry pretty quick. Anywho, those of you who note, I'm hoping you'll notice the improvement in lighting here. And that's because I went to Walmart and bought myself 2 intensity lamps, which I have mounted on the shelf above my little workbench here. So hopefully that will solve the lighting issues I've had from time to time on this, with this workbench. Let me go grab a toothbrush because I'm going to have to now scrub these. They are a lot better than they were. You can see the carbon deposits that did wind up in the water here. And some of it spilled out onto here as well, onto the paper towel I put on my workbench. But yeah, they're still kind of dirty, so let me go. So the only way to get them clean, unfortunately, is quite tedious. And that is to employ one of these. And here it is, finally. Good old-fashioned toothbrush and some elbow grease. So let me dunk this in here, make sure it's nice and saturated. Make sure my toothbrush has some stuff on it. I kind of annoyed at myself for dumping some of that. I hope I don't have to put more on it, but I'm going to use a thumbtack and go into this little hole here and just dig it out. If my camera will cooperate, that'd be really cool. There we go. And just use the thumbtack or push pin or whatever you'd like to call it and just dig this area out. If you soaked it as long as I have, it should be very easy to get most of the stuff out of here. Nice and clean there. Oh, finally. That took a little bit extra effort than I was expecting, but it is together. Snap it in firmly. Probably gonna have to fast forward that one through. It is all nicely together again. Okay, that's one done. Next, grab the next truck and do the same thing again. Alrighty, I'm finally done working on these trucks, and those assemblies took far too much time. I lost one of the pickup shoes for one of these trucks, and ended up having to dig around on the floor here to find it. I ended up taking my magnet and just scraping around the carpet with it, and sure enough, it stuck to it. I was able to then pull it up, clean it, and put it back on. Anywho, these are finally done. Let that be a lesson to you folks, and it happens to the best of us. Even though I have a parts bin thing right over here, this magnetic dish I always keep all of my parts in, I still managed to goof on that because I was letting it dry out. Just goes to show you, no matter how much in the way of precautions you take, things can still go wrong. So, without further ado, I'm going to get now onto reassembling this unit. I just don't feel comfortable putting a metal worm gear up against a plastic gear that has no lubricant, because that's a recipe for having this stripped out. Let's go now and put some grease on here, just a little dab. That's way too much, as several of my fellow YouTubers seem to say a lot these days. Just going to rub off whatever I have here. Maybe try to move some of this over here. You really don't need much on these. I want to get some of this stuff off more now than anything else. Okay, I'm just going to call that done. Let's go ahead now and put this cap back on the label. Again, I use label 106 grease on this. That's what it looks like. I'm going to go now and just snap these trucks back into place. I may have to loosen these screws. I literally put the screws back in because I was getting so paranoid of losing parts on this thing. Let me go grab my cheap screwdriver from a hard drive cage I bought. Just give a few turns. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And snap these back into place. 1. And 2. There we go. And now the chassis is back together. I would normally just start to reassemble everything again, but I'm going to do one last little step here because I have a part that's going to enhance this locomotive. This, again, is a Kato RS2, so it has these rather infamous factory couplers, which really don't work that well from this particular era of Kato. Not the current ones, but again, this era from the late 90s. These are more like display couplers. They don't have any flexing point in the middle, and they're very rigid. They're almost like the Bachmann couplers. In fact, I think they're derived from them. I could be wrong on that. Whatever the case, they're pretty much useless. They have when there's normal. You know, I've taken the spring out on these. I've broken it off and reduced the size of it because the springs themselves are so taut that they will not allow this train to, one of these locomotives to negotiate sharp curves, or any curve for that matter. Anytime you go around a curve with that kind of coupler with no give, it essentially will knock any kind of car you're towing off or dragging behind it off because there's no give on this, and the trucks are coupler again, the trucks are the couplers are truck mounted, pardon me, and with that, any force that comes in contact will just push the truck off the track. Anyway, this is the sort of cheap fix for that, which doesn't work very well because these couplers are still not the greatest thing since sliced bread. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to upgrade these to microtrains couplers. To do this, I'm going to take my tweezers here. I'm going to grab this retaining pin. And hopefully never been off this engine. Plastic does tend to warp a little bit and grow sometimes, so you may have to mess with it a little bit. And grabbing it physically, I don't want to pop it off because this could go flying, and I'm not in the mood to go on an expedition finding this again. He says as it happens. Charming. Let's see if the second time is a charm. I'm going to pull this one out too because I need to change this one as well. There it is. I got that one, but it landed in my parts bin. Darn things. So I got that one off. I'm going to have to replace the other one from my stocks. I'll never find that one again. But anyway, here we have the couplers. Now they just pull right out. Or in this case, I can push this. I think, no, I got to pull it through here. I may just break this off. There it goes, because this has already been broken down. Again, you see where I took the spring off. This is literally junk. Bye-bye. This one is still together. It just pulls right out. Again, I've reduced the size of the spring on this one. Or actually, no, I didn't touch this one. This has still got the full-length spring on it. Well, actually, I did cut it down a bit, it looks like. But, yeah, they're kind of useless. Going to replace these couplers with a type. These are the 2004-1 couplers from Microtrains. You get 4 in a pack. I'm going to take 2 of these and put them in here. They are underslung couplers designed for Kato. I'll put the number in the description of this video. I'll make a note to do that myself, because I don't have the rest of the package here. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I know they're going to get lost unless I install them in a locomotive, and since this engine doesn't have those couplers, I may as well just do it. Installing them is really quite simple. They slip right in where the original one does. These are pre-assembled. All you do is simply put them in the original coupler slash hole in the pilot for the coupler and just simply slide them in place. Like so. Hopefully I won't break anything in the way this night is going. I hope this doesn't break too on me. Oh. There we go. Got it in. Make sure that the hole lines up with the one on the frame right here, because you're going to have to put the coupler retaining clip back in place here. Okay. Next we take the retaining clip and it goes in just like that. Make sure we line up all the holes. Press it in, and that's it. Coupler in my retaining pin. I should have one from another shell. Okay, I dug around in my spare parts box and found another retaining clip, so hopefully I won't lose any more parts tonight. Before I lose what's left of my sanity, I'm going to put this top back on here. And I'm going to test this locomotive. There we go. I'm going to pull the test track out and make sure this thing actually works. It'll be a negative, but I have had a bit of a rough night with this thing. Though I appear to be winning, knock wood. And hopefully I will win. Let us go plug this in and grab my throttle. There it is. Okay, now this is what number are we right now? This is number 4013. Oh, no. There it is. It hesitated a little bit there, but it moved. And I haven't used it in a couple weeks since I started working on this thing. There we go. It seems to be running pretty well now. There we go. It seems to be working pretty well. Huge improvement over what was there before. If you remember, it wouldn't move at all. Or at least the other engine I ended up swapping the chassis with wouldn't move at all. And we have perfect pickup there. And perfect pickup there. So, this is finally finished. I was going to lose what's left of my sanity. That's going to do it for this video, folks. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Please like and subscribe. And as always, keep the metal side down.